Straight ahead on CBS 42 News at 6. More twists and turns. A new development in a cold case investigation lands the accused in the hospital. We have the exclusive details. And what caused Flight 1354 to crash? A local pilot gives his take on what may have happened.
We have new details tonight as to what may have happened to UPS Flight 1354. Good evening, I'm Sherry Jackson.
And I'm Trent Butler, and after analyzing the audio recordings of both black boxes on that plane, NTSB officials say the entire flight was captured on tape. CBS 42's Natalie Tejeda is live tonight at the Birmingham Shuttlesworth International Airport with the very latest for us. Natalie.
Sherry, Trent, a full transcript of what the pilot said in those final few minutes has not yet been released. However, NTSB officials say there was in fact a sharp descent or sink alarm that was captured on the cockpit voice recorder.
If you were at 10,000 feet above ground and you were descending very quickly, it would not alert.
But he also went on to say if you were low to the ground and descending very quickly, that alarm then again would have gone off. Again, UPS Flight 1354 went down in a field just short of the Birmingham Shuttlesworth Airport, and those sink alarms were heard just 16 seconds before the end of the recordings on the black boxes. NTSB officials say at 9 seconds before the end of the recordings, the sound of impact was captured on tape. Now, whether that impact was with the trees or the ground, they did not specify. They say all information from both recordings is still being analyzed, so this information is very preliminary and much more will come out in the next few days. Some other details, though, that did come out of today's press conference was that both pilots were very experienced on the Airbus A300 and were in very good standing with the FAA. Of course, we'll have much more on their credentials as well as on their schedule before they were headed to Birmingham coming up tonight at 10. Live at the airport, Natalie Tejeda, CBS 42 News.
Okay, Natalie, thank you. And also developing at this hour, one of our crews just got this video of a UPS truck hauling off packages that were on the plane that crashed. There were hundreds of them on board. After the crash, they were scattered all across the ground. Now, the information released by the NTSB this afternoon tells a lot about Flight 1354's final moments.
But investigators still have a long way to go before determining exactly what went wrong. CBS 42's Caitlin McCauley continues our live team coverage from the crash site. And Caitlin, you're joined by a veteran pilot who has some insights.
Now that we do have more information coming from the NTSB and from that black box recording, it helps to have someone who can translate all of that information into terms that we all understand. Joining me now is Captain Brooks Yielding. Now, I guess, first of all, what stuck out the most to you after listening to this recording?
Well, the fact that they got a ground proximity warning system alert 16 seconds prior to impact would be an indication that the electronic boxes in the aircraft thought that the airplane was approaching the ground at too fast of a sink rate. In other words, the descent.
Okay, and so, like you said, 16 seconds from the crash point, we heard in the audio recording, sink rate, and then we heard the pilot say runway in sight. Now, what would that response mean?
Well, it could be an indication that he thought he had a complete visual of the runway, that the terrain may not have been a factor, and that he was continuing to the runway.
Okay, and now that decision to do that, in your experience as a commercial pilot, is that an accepted decision?
It can be in the daytime when you see everything. In other words, you have a full visual of the terrain, but at night, it's usually an indication that perhaps you should think about going around and redoing the approach.
Okay, and you mentioned the terrain. The terrain coming into this runway, there's some hills, it's not exactly a clear landing path. How does the terrain play into this?
Well, it's a steeper approach. In other words, the indicating lights towards the runway are set up for a steeper approach than they would be for a longer runway or with a flatter approach.
Okay, Brooks Yielding, thank you so much for joining us. And we have learned also that the family of one of the pilots is in Alabama today, and they will be transporting the body of the pilot back home. For now, back to you guys.
According to UPS, both of the pilots involved in that crash had several years of experience.
They did. Saria Beal Jr. was a heavy lift helicopter pilot. He was in the Marines doing that. Also tonight, I want to give you a little more information about those pilots. Shanda Fanning was known as someone who loved flying. She was also well known in her community. Fanning's family runs the Jack Daniels distillery in Lynchburg, Tennessee. CBS 42 has learned that her family is in Birmingham. As Caitlin mentioned earlier just moments ago, they are still making arrangements to take her body back home. Now, CBS 42 was the first TV station at the scene of that plane crash Wednesday morning.
And we have been on top of every development since then. Stay tuned to CBS 42 News for the latest information on the investigation. You can also go to our website at cbs42.com.
Well, you didn't need your sunglasses today, and it was quite cool. In fact, so cool that a lot of areas around central Alabama set unusual records. This is a record low high temperature that was set in Birmingham, 72. Tuscaloosa tied the record at 77. Anniston, 71. All those records set 65 years ago. And it's still cool right now. Just a handful of locations in far west Alabama at or above 80 degrees. And there are some substantial showers, especially along the coast. Coming up, I'll show you when some of that rain will move into our area for the weekend and what else is going on in the Gulf. The forecast in a few minutes.
The West Virginia woman suspected of hiding the remains of two missing women from Jasper is in the hospital tonight.
Wanda Kaiser was supposed to appear in court today to face charges of concealing a dead body. Now, CBS 42's Melissa Crabtree talked to the prosecutor who just left the hospital where Kaiser is being treated.
Personally, I think she knew that she'd been caught, and I think she tried to kill herself.
Nicholas County prosecuting attorney P.K. Milam says Wanda Kaiser swallowed a large amount of pills just before being arrested.
Speaking to the medical staff at the hospital, it was a large amount. They said actually it was surprised she didn't die from the amount of pills she ingested. So
Kaiser's overdose won't stop the wheels of justice from turning. Milam says not only does he believe she dragged Mary Cobb and Winona Del Vecchio's remains from Alabama to West Virginia a decade ago, she carelessly threw body parts into this storage unit, which is a felony.
Yeah, and then storing them with the financial records of the two missing ladies really is not the smartest criminal move I've seen. Yeah.
It is terribly disrespectful to anyone and to any family not to have a proper burial, and certainly that was not done for these two ladies.
Kaiser has been on home confinement since mid-July. However, she was able to leave her home for several hours with her ankle monitor on. Investigators hope to track her every move leading up to the finding of those remains. Reporting in Summersville, West Virginia, Melissa Crabtree, CBS 42 News.
CBS 42 is dedicated to bringing you exclusive details as this Walker County cold case heats up. From Wanda Kaiser's forgery arrest last month to her suicide attempt last night, you'll get information from us that you will not get anywhere else. If you'd like to follow our coverage, you can also go to cbs42.com.
What was once a missing persons case in Calhoun County has led to the arrest of one man for murder. 52-year-old Jimmy Steed of Piedmont's charged with the murder of Carla Fuqua. The 28-year-old was reported missing in 2009. Her remains were found near Steed's house last December.
As we say in law enforcement, when you're working what you believe to be a homicide, everybody's a suspect until we eliminate them. And we've eliminated a number of people through the years, but we've never been able to eliminate Mr. Steed as a suspect in this case.
The sheriff says Jimmy Steed is also a person of interest in two other missing persons cases. One is the disappearance of his wife. Anyone who has information that can help solve these cases is asked to call the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office. Their number is 256-237-4731.
A former Gardendale pastor will be standing trial for the murder of his wife. A Jefferson County grand jury has indicted Terry Greer. The former pastor of Gardendale Mount Vernon Methodist Church is accused of shooting and killing his wife and injuring his daughter. Prosecutors are telling us that it happened at their Gardendale home last January. Greer is being held in the Jefferson County Jail without bond tonight. He's scheduled to appear in court coming up on September 16th. And the murder of a Homewood pastor's wife is still a mystery tonight. Police are still looking for the person who killed Karen Shahan. Her body was found in her home off Lakeshore Drive July 23rd. Karen's husband, Richard, is the Children and Families pastor at First Baptist Church of Birmingham. Last week, he was held in connection with the case, but he was never charged with a crime. The church has placed him on administrative leave. If you have any information that might help police solve this case, you can call Crime Stoppers at that number right there, 254-7777.
Coming up, the first day of class, always an exciting time.
It sure is, but for one school, it will have a special meening coming up on Monday. Hear why the first day of school here is about much more than just hitting the books.
Plus, a word of warning for those of you planning a night out. It could involve traffic delays. We'll tell you where and why.
You're watching CBS 42 News at 6 with Sherry Jackson, Trent Butler, and Chief Meteorologist Gene Norman.
On April 27th of 2011, an EF4 tornado devastated Tuscaloosa. The twister killed 41 people and injured hundreds of others. Countless homes and businesses were destroyed, and one school also took a direct hit.
The University Place Elementary was reduced to rubble. 2 years after the tornado, it's been rebuilt and it's ready to reopen. CBS 42's Lee Garner was there for today's back-to-school celebration.
There's a display case in the hall at University Place that tells the story of where this school has come from.
Every day we drive down here to see how they're working on the school.
The April 27th storm that tore the building apart also tore their middle and elementary schools apart, sending students to two different places.
I felt sad. I didn't want to be in a Ramsdale school. I just want to go back home.
Home. It's a word you hear a lot when the students, staff, and parents talk about this place. After 2 years and mere days before the first school bell of the fall, it's finally homecoming.
We can breathe Saturday and Sunday, then we're going to have to go into overdrive with Mountain Dew and caffeine starting Monday when our students get back. But I don't know who's going to be more excited, the students or us, just welcoming everybody back.
And this new building.
It's bigger and better. I love the atmosphere around.
It's not just a place where old students want to come. With its new programs and safety features, it's attracting a new crowd from all over the city and even private schools.
At my core, I support public education. I feel like it's a good way to go when there are good options. And this year we're moving because we feel like we have good options.
With a new building, the new STEAM curriculum, and new students, University Place will face plenty of challenges, but they've already overcome an awful lot. In Tuscaloosa, Lee Garner, CBS 42 News.
Welcome home to all those students.
Oh, I'm so happy for them. I know they're excited.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if everyone's excited to be going back to school on Monday. You know, every kid wants that summer vacation to just last a little bit longer.
Doesn't feel like summer.
And it doesn't feel like summer. In fact, it already feels like fall weather. Take a look outside. Cloudy skies. That's what we've been seeing all day long. In Fayette, yesterday they had the sunshine, and lots of other places had the clouds. Today, they have the clouds as well. Take a look at the satellite view from earlier today. We started out just around this morning. You see the low clouds in place. That's what's been with us for most of the day. That continues, a steady east breeze. It's a kind of a weather pattern that we normally look for in the fall time. It's called a wedge, basically a wedge of cool air gets stuck here on the west side of the Appalachians. It just kind of sits there. Upper level winds don't budge it for a while, and that's the weather pattern that we're dealing with right now. Hard to imagine that that's what you'd see in August, but we are dealing with it. It's keeping temperatures cool in the 70s, 79 for Cleveland, 80 Carrollton, but most everybody else low 70s. We told you earlier, Anniston and Birmingham both broke records for the coolest day on this date, and that will continue on into tomorrow. We may see a repeat of perhaps temperatures in the 70s, maybe not getting too far out of that. Our forecast computer model shows that overnight will be in the mid to upper 60s pretty much all across central Alabama. And then for tomorrow, well, we'll struggle to get that mercury up into the low 70s. Might be a bit optimistic projection from our computer model. We may not get too far above 70 by lunchtime. Clouds around, also chance of a couple of spotty showers. We may get into the mid 70s for highs tomorrow. That's what at least we are forecasting. Our exclusive Titancast computer model shows the clouds in place overnight, so not a whole lot of change. And then during the day tomorrow, you see a few of these blue specks. These are spotty showers beginning to come up from the south. That should continue on into Sunday. So it will be a weekend where we have not only the cloud cover and cooler temperatures, but also periods of light rain. Could be a couple of rumbles of thunder, too, by the time we get to Sunday afternoon. All the thunderstorm threat is coming from our south. You see the heavy showers here along the Florida coast and even parts of Alabama and Mississippi. That's the leading edge of this tropical disturbance, which is trying to get itself organized. It's having a hard time. Upper level winds are keeping it from really developing. But what's going to happen is this dip in the jet stream that's helping to keep us cool is also going to drag some of this moisture up toward the coast and eventually into central Alabama. We'll have to watch this very carefully over the weekend to see what happens with this area of low pressure, but I don't anticipate that it will become a named system. For tonight, here in town, cloudy. You won't need the AC. It'll be cool with temperatures in the mid-60s. And then for tomorrow, we'll struggle to get above 70, maybe get close to 80 in the afternoon, but we will see those showers around as well as the east wind will continue. And heading into the second half of the weekend, there's that threat for thunderstorms on Sunday. It continues for the first day of school, at least perhaps for the ride home. Might be a little bit warmer. It might be above 80 degrees. And then it might get to normal August weather by the time we get to the middle of next week, with temperatures approaching 90 with just late day showers and thunderstorms. It's hard to believe that summer's almost over, at least for kids. We got another month on the calendar. Right. And it's taken a long while for the weather to feel like summer.
At least they get to be inside the classroom with all that rain next week.
Sure enough.
All right, Gene, thanks so much. And I want to give you a heads up tonight. Be prepared for delays. Bring that patience if you're heading out on Highway 280 tonight. Starting soon at 8 o'clock tonight, crews will remove the traffic light at Grandview Parkway. They'll also turn on the light at Perimeter Park South. Now, these changes are all part of the Alabama Department of Transportation's plan to reduce congestion on the heavily traveled road. The project should be finished up, and everyone can't wait for that, by the middle, rather, I should say, the end of November. So mark that down. And of course, we're also talking about college football kicking off in a little more than 2 weeks.
Talk about not being able to wait. Alabama's opponent in the new season opener is already dealing with some injury issues. They want to wait. Plus, Auburn's leading scorer looks ahead to kick off its next in sports.
15 days and counting. Yep, till the start of college football.
He's counting. Virginia Tech probably wants it to be a little longer, though.
Yeah, they may want to just tap out of this whole practice thing because it hasn't been working well. They're already missing their starting running back and cornerback. Now their outside linebacker, Ronnie Van Dyke, is done for the season. Oh. Frank Beamer announced that Thursday, along with Mark Schumann, a starting lineman. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. You're probably going to want to have your tackles when you're playing the two-time defending national champion. Speaking of, the Crimson Tide could maybe let the Hokies borrow some tight ends. One guy did move back to his old spot today, LaMichael Fanning, going back to the D-line after a go at tight end. Harrison Jones yesterday on the versatility of the group.
You can have a range of a lot of different talents, from anywhere from a skinnier receiver to a bigger blocker, and everywhere in between. So, but we have had some new guys come in, and everybody's doing a really good job.
The Tide scrimmage tomorrow at 1 o'clock. This is it, folks. It's going to be the weekend. Auburn's going to name a starting quarterback. Maybe. Yesterday, Coach said he wants one at least by Monday. The run game will help out either one of the two quarterbacks options who've never started in an SEC game. Trey Mason, Cam Artis-Payne there. The O-line returning 4 starters. The kicking game with Cody Parkey is as strong as his leg is.
I feel like I'm comfortable with hitting far field goals. Just so happened that those are the ones I missed last year, and so I've been working on that a lot, along with being more accurate from those. Along with hitting 55-yard field goals, you got to be hitting them straight. So both of those have played a huge role.
They changed the kickoff distance last year. You think it doesn't matter anymore? Cody and Auburn led the nation in kickoff return yardage. 36, a big reason why they were able to do that. And over in Odenville, the St. Clair Saints putting in reps as they near week 1 of the high school football season. First up, they get to travel across the county to Moody. Coach Lee thinks that it's a great way to kick things off.
Moody is one of our rival games. Of course, they're Class 5A, but it's a big county rival, and it's always a big game. And they as well have a big senior class coming. So it's going to be a good. They've got a good team coming. It's going to be a good ball game.
Coach Lee has a strong core returning to the field this season, has a newcomer that's sealing the show through the uprights. That story from Lauren Sisler coming tonight at 10 o'clock. We got you covered with Friday Football Fever. Starts up August 30th. CBS 42 Sports Team bringing you the very latest scores, highlights, and news. And we've got some regular season football coming up tonight. That's coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. And folks, do you guys ever want to rock and roll all night and party every day with football? Well, now you can. The Arena League is partnering with KISS. It's the LA team. They will be the LA KISS. Gene Simmons and company out there to announce it this week. And What's your favorite Kiss song? I can only think of one when I decided that I was going to do it.
It's not Beth. A lot of people like that. That's not my favorite.
Okay.
I will say that. Rock and Roll All Night is probably my favorite.
Just wear your face paint and go watch the Kiss play.
That would be the one I know.
I did that in 5th grade for Halloween. All right, Patrick, thank you.
A man is behind bars charged with the murder of a Piedmont woman. I'm Chris Womack. Coming up tonight at 10, I'll let you hear from the family of Carla Fuqua.
And still ahead here tonight at 6.
A big open house, a chance for members of the Birmingham Police Department to meet their new neighbors.
Birmingham Police Department is expanding its presence in the community.
Yeah, today they opened a new substation and invited the entire community to come check it out. The BPD Community Service Division hosted this open house at their new location in the Crestwood Shopping Center. Visitors got to tour the substation, meet with the officers who are keeping an eye on their neighborhoods. They even got to pose for some pretty pictures.
All right, you gotta like that. Well, that is all for us right now, but don't forget you can get news anytime online, CBS42.com.
We'll see you back here tonight for CBS 42 News at 10.
Have a good night.